Hey everybody, welcome back to another deck profile. So today I have something special because I earned my invite this weekend by going to the OTS Championship up in Ogden, Utah, and I got third place out of 30 people, and yeah, I did really well actually. I only dropped 2 games overall the entire day, and that was against a Shadal Invoked player. He was just a really good player, and he outgrinded me, so nothing really I can complain about that. But yeah, let's get right into the deck profile. Yeah, let's start off with 3 copies of Swap Frog, 3 copies of Duke Frog, and 2 copies of Ronin Toadin. So, fantastic frog lineup, nothing I'd change about it. At this point, I think you guys understand the deck profile by now. The 8 frogs, and yeah, there's never any reason to play any more or any less of what you already got. 2 copies of Nibiru is the only hand trap that we played. Every time I drew it, it did have a use, so I will say that. However, one of the times it took like 2 or 3 turns for it to actually hit the board. But that's okay because it makes it so it's completely unexpected. And I think it genuinely won me both of those games, so yeah, pretty good card, won't lie. Moving on, we have 3 copies of Pot of Desires. This is the only spell card in the deck, and it seems really counterintuitive because you don't want to banish all your frogs. However, I think that in this deck values the card advantage more than the power that you can get from the frogs. And most of the time you don't banish all your frogs anyways, so you're playing both the frogs and the paleos. So I think it's fine. I don't think there's anything else I'd really want to say about it. Like, I originally thought that it was wrong to play this card unless you're playing Leoncolia, which is like the Omega. You can target a banished card, return it to your graveyard. But moving forward, I think that it's fine just to play this at 3 and don't play any Leoncolia. So, yeah. We play 3 copies of Paleozoic Morella, so a lot of you guys are going to disagree with this, but I think that this is the best Paleozoic card. Being able to just activate for free, pretty much, because there's nothing that you need to do. Your opponent doesn't need to control a monster. They don't need to control a spell or trap card. They don't need to do anything. You can just, Foolish Goods any trap card from your deck to the graveyard. And most of the time, you're just going to be sending either itself, or you're going to be sending a Lost Wind, or another spicy tech that I have in this deck. I guess it's not really a tech at this point, because it's kind of well known. But, if they activate Shadal Fusion, you can chain this Morella and then send like a Lost Wind, then Resolution or whatever. Their monster gets summoned, and you can set the Lost Wind in your field for the next turn to negate like their Winda, and then you can summon back a Morella and then just hit 100 over it. So that's kind of interesting, and I really like that like interaction that you can just immediately out the Winda. But yeah. So, moving on into other trap cards, we played 3 copies of Dynamistus, and there's nothing else I'd really want to say about this. This card's great. The downside is the discard, obviously, but it's not too bad. It's fine. And it's really nice having the discard being as cost, because if this gets negated, then you just are like, okay, that's fine. I don't discard. I keep the card in my hand. So, it's pretty cool. We play 3 copies of Olenoides and 3 copies of Canadia. So these ones are kind of the weird ones. And I'm missing my 3rd holo. I don't know where it went. But anyways, the Olenoides is just the Dust Tornado, MST. The Canadia is the Book of Moon. And yeah, I think that they're just okay. Most of the time, if I'm siding something out, these are the ones I'm going to side out. But yeah, there's not much to say about that. I don't think I ever sided out the Olenoides today, but I think that it's still worth taking a look at like signing out in the future. The next normal trap card we played is 3 copies of Evenly Matched. You can set this with Trap Trick, but don't do it. So, yeah. Anyways, it didn't come up today, actually, but it was some good discard fodder for Dynamistus. So, yeah, I think it actually might have come up once, but it was, like, late game, so, like, it didn't really have, like, too big of an impact. But, yeah, I mean, it's a good card. Just most of my cards are going good going first, so I wanted one going second card that's a blowout, so that's really nice, just like a similar thing to the Altergeist players, what they think. 2 copies of Waking the Dragon, 2 copies of Lost Wind, and 2 copies of Trap Trick. So, a lot of people are actually playing 3 copies of Trap Trick, and I don't think that's correct, because I think that Trap Trick is just like a consistency card. I don't think it's anything that needs to be played in multiples because actually every time that I drew it today, I drew it in multiples and it was really bad. Yeah, so yeah, and if you draw a handful of trap cards, you actually can't set another trap card from your deck, so you're kind of screwing yourself over that free advantage. And also, if you draw it with a handful of trap cards, it's still not very good because you need to activate your other trap cards before you activate your trap trick. So it does have like a really big downside in that regard, and I don't think that it's very, very good, but I think it's like good enough to play 2 copies because just being able to have utility is really nice. 2 copies of Waking the Dragon is fantastic. I think it was like a 66% chance, like 2 out of 3 times that I had it in my hand or whatever, they hit it out of my hand, so that was pretty good, and it won me every single game it got resolved, so that's really nice too. Moving on into just normal, like, non-trap trickable trap cards, we play 3 Solemns, Strikes, and 3 Judgments. No warnings this time. I didn't feel like it was good enough, so I cut it just for this specific time, although it's pretty cool to negate Shaddoll Fusion, but I didn't play it this time. Next, we played 3 copies of Crackdown, the best trap card probably in the deck. A lot of people are playing 2. I have no idea why. This card's fantastic. It's not once per turn. You just take their monsters, summon a Paleo from grave. Pretty broken. And the last 2 cards we played are Spiritual Swords, which you can send off of Lost Wind to stop direct attacks. And you can also, while it's on field, you flip it, pay 1,000, and your opponent can't attack you. So it's actually insane, and I wouldn't change it moving forward because I forgot how insane this card was. Just being able to pretty much stop someone's battle phase for the cost of like 2,000, 3,000 life points, or for free if you just have it in your deck and you have a Morella set, is insane. So yeah. And 3 copies, sorry, not 3, I wish. Actually, I kind of don't wish because this card sucks. It's a bad card. It's a good card, but it's just very toxic. Imperial Order, yeah, 1 copy. Moving on into the extra deck. So I did change it a little bit from the last couple times. So we played 3 Toads, 1 Anomalocaris, and 1 Opabina. I didn't see the Opabina today. It didn't come up, although, like I've said in the past, don't cut them because they will come up in the future, and you will miss them every single time. So those 5 are always like standard. 1 copy of Masquerena, 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, and 1 Security Dragon for the Link 2 monsters. They're all fantastic, and there's nothing I'd change about it. I think every one of them came up, and yeah. Moving on, we played 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn for the Link 3 as a, like, just kind of like a thing to get rid of stuff. It came up once, and it was pretty good. 1 copy of Borosor Dragon, and this is fantastic, and I don't think there's anything I'd change about this as well. The other Link 4 we played is Zero Boros. I cut Avermax from my list, actually, and I missed it, but I wouldn't cut it for the Zero Boros because the Zero Boros was fantastic, and I'm going to keep the Zero Boros thing moving forward. It came up, actually. I'll talk about it real quick. So, against the Infernoid player I played against, he played Jinzo against me, and I had 3 waters in hand, including a Swap Frog, and so I was able to make this with using all my resources, and I summoned back a frog and banished the whole field. It's pretty cool. The judge ruled this incorrectly, though. I will mention it. It says on the card, once per turn during the standby phase of your next turn after this card was banished by its own effect, summon this banished card. Not a mandatory effect. I don't know if you guys can read that right now, but that last part on the thing is, it is mandatory. It's not an optional thing. It must come back. And we both missed it in the standby phase coming up. So, like, later on in the turn, we realized, oh wait, Zero Boros needs to come back. And he came over and he was like, no, you can't. And I was like, it's mandatory, like, you have to. So that was definitely an incorrect ruling on his part. It's okay though, because I still ended up winning because the guy hit my Waking the Dragon, and I just totally summoned a really good card here that I'm going to show. Ultimate Falcon, yeah, it's a pretty good card. So I summoned this and he didn't have it out. The last 2 cards that we played for Waking the Dragon targets that didn't come up were Majestic Star Dragon and Mega Collapse. I do want to mention this Majestic Star Dragon should be Last Warrior from Another Planet. Play that over this card. It's just way better. I just wanted something that had a little bit of utility. Just being, bigger than Ultimate Falcon's pretty cool, first of all. Also, it can negate and destroy everything, so that's pretty cool. Negates anything, destroys anything, but you know, it's just like decent other than that. The Ultimate Falcon was fantastic, and the Megaclops didn't come up, but it would, because if they late game hit your Waking the Dragon, you can summon this, and then from there you can just use its effect once per turn to take a free card from their field, to attach it to your Toad, and you have a negate now. So that's really cool. And pretty busted, if I'm being honest. Also, they can't kill us with Boral Sword. That was my main fear, is they could get over with Ultimate Falcon with Boral Sword. They can't get over this because this card's unaffected by other monsters' effects except for Xyz monsters, and it can't be destroyed by battle except for Xyz monsters. So Boral Sword's not an Xyz monster, so that's pretty cool. Moving on into the side deck, shoutouts to my fiance, because she gave me 3 copies of actually Phantasme, but I only played 2 for Christmas, and they were $100 at the time. Unfortunately, they have dropped, but shoutouts to her, because that is amazing, and yeah, crazy. Anyways, we played 3 copies of Soul Drain as well, and I thought I'd also throw in 1 copy of Nibiru for instead of the 3rd Phantasme, because I thought it would come out more often than the 3rd one. Nothing I'd change about this, honestly. I think all these cards did everything that they needed to do. Soul Drain's insane against the Shaddoll deck. They flip over, they activate a fusion, you chain this, and you win, because they can't activate any of their Shaddoll cards, and they're stuck with their fusion, which is fine. It's a big beat stick, which you can deal with easily with, you know, Dynamistus, Crackdown, I don't care, give me your monster. Pretty good. And then they lose because they can't use their graveyard. I would have won a game if the Soul Drain did resolve, except that he did have Cosmic Cyclone to chain, and yeah, that was interesting. 3 copies of Inspector Border, fantastic card. It actually didn't come up today, but I think I might change these to the main deck, like over the evenly match. Like if I could go back and play the entire day all over again, I'd play Borders in the main, and I'd switch the evenlies to side because they didn't come up enough. But I don't know if it's correct playing this over the evenly match moving forward, but I definitely think that it was really good. Next, we played 3 copies of Sphere Mode. I didn't see any Spiral or Rocket players, but if I did, I would have loved to have this card. And the other last card that we played that I didn't get a side in either is 3 copies of Stormduster. I didn't see any other back row decks. I played like pretty much all combo and Shaddoll, so like this didn't come up, but if it did, I would have loved it. So let's go on into my matches really quick, and I'll talk about them a little bit, just for filler, I guess, to see what you guys think. So anyways, I have a little paper here. Round 1, I played against Luna Lights, and I 2-0'd him. He didn't really know his cards super well, so I just kind of knew how his deck worked, knew what to hit, and he didn't know how to play his deck very well, and so I won. Round 2, I played against Infernoid, which this deck has a terrible matchup against, because DD Crow the deck versus Graveyard the deck is bad, and I don't know how, but I outgrinded him game number 1, and game 2, he summoned Jinzo on me, and I was able to make the 0 Boros, like I said earlier, and banish his whole field, and then the next turn he summoned another Jinzo, but Jinzo only negates monsters on the, or trap cards on the field. So all my Paleos are still alive in the graveyard if I activate a trap card. However, you can't activate trap cards due to Jinzo, so I guess that's irrelevant. But Spiritual Swords did save me because you can banish it from grave and negate the direct attacks for the rest of the turn, so that definitely did save me. And then the following turn, he destroyed my Waking the Dragon and summoned Ultimate Falcon. He can't out it. Also, I decked him out because he monster gated to get to the Jinzo, had 4 cards left in his deck, and I just had to survive for 4 turns, so that was pretty good. So I 2-0'd him. Going on into round 3, I played against Shaddoll Invoked, and he 2-1'd me. He just outgrinded me, and like I said, he Cosmic my Soul Drain, and I had another one, but my life points were at like 600, so I couldn't activate it because my life points were too low, so I ended up losing that one. 2-1, and I don't remember what happened like the other games really, but he definitely did just outgrind me. He's a good player, so shout outs to you. Moving on into round 4, I played against Dinosaurs, and I 2-0'd him as well. Crackdown take Conductor's pretty good. Sure, he can chain it, but all the Paleos are unaffected by monster effects. So, sure, these will just sit in defense mode and you have no monsters on field because you spent all your resources trying to get to Conductor. So free Conductor from me, and then I'll link everything off the next turn. Pretty good. And I think there's nothing else I don't want to say about that, actually. I think I just played it really well. Round 5, I played against Shadal Invoked. Game 1, I Nibiru'd him because he overextended hard, and just played into my Nibiru really hard. I mean, granted, like, it was like 4 turns later, so like, he probably would have thought like, oh, he would have Nibiru'd me by now, but like, it never reached 5 summons, so yeah. But yeah, and turns out Nibiru can't actually tribute face down monsters. So when what happened? I can't remember exactly how. Oh, Toad negated Construct and set it face down to my field, and Nibiru went to tribute everything, and Construct's face down, so it doesn't get tributed. So I kept a free Construct. That was pretty nice. Also, the Paleos are unaffected, so that's pretty cool too. So my Paleo stayed on the field, and Construct stayed on the field, and I just made Toad the next turn and won. Game 2, he bricked really, really hard, so I just had to make Toad and win, so that was it. My top 8 match, I played against a Shadal Invoked, and I got really lucky and opened Nibiru and Imperial Order Game 1, so I Nibiru'd him because he overextended real hard for some reason. I don't know why. He also opened like 3 Allures. It was really weird. But yeah, I Nibiru'd him. Next turn, flip Imperial Order, GG. That was about it. Game 2, I opened Toad plus like Soul Drain. And at that point, like, you can't do anything. Like, Toad's broken. I can just keep hitting you with it. And Soul Drain, like, it just, like, and plus, like, all my other traps, like, I just won. It was crazy. My top 4 match, I actually ended up scooping altogether because I didn't want to play anymore. And I still ended up getting 3rd place. So, yeah, really interesting. But, well, I scooped and I got 3rd. So, you know, my overall record was 5-1. Technically, it was 5-2 because I scooped my top 4. However, my top 4 was against the same person I played round 5 against a Shadal Invoked player that I 2-0'd. So realistically, I probably would have made it to the finals, and I might have got 1st place, but I just really didn't feel like playing. So yeah. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. A bit of a longer one. Hope I explained everything really well. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. And I'm probably going to be retiring this deck. I know it's been treating me really well. This Swap Frog's been a good boy. He's treating me very well. And I've loved this deck a lot, but I think moving forward, I want to try out some other decks. I was definitely thinking about playing Trap Tricks at my next regional, so I might actually do that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed regardless, and I will see you guys later.